Hi, I'm Tino, and you're listening to Catholic versus Other.
So just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you believe, and why you believe it.
I'm Tino, working since 20 years in a mine, and I believe in tribal gatherings and psychedelic medicines.
Interesting. How did you come to believe that?
Because I tried them all.
Okay. Can you talk, before we get into the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, can we talk a little bit about your childhood? Like when you first encountered this idea of religion, that there's such a thing as religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I'm born as a Christian. My dad and my mom were not practicing Christians. Only when there was like something special, we would go to the church for a wedding or a funeral. And I got baptized, and later, when I was 7 years or 8 years old, I got my communion.
Oh, you're in the Catholic Church?
Yeah.
Okay. Which country were you raised in?
Belgium.
What about your grandparents? All four believed?
I only knew one of my grandparents, and that was a German Omi, and she believed. She was like a Christian. She would go to church.
What did you think as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old about God?
I was a big fan of Jesus. Jesus was my guy number one.
Okay.
And I looked every Easter at all the movies, from Moses to Jesus, and I liked the Roman movies, and I got the feeling for Christianity, like, wow, this is a belief to practice or to follow or to even read the Bible. As a child, I had this feeling to do that. But then, when I was 8 years old, my father died, and I got in conflict with religion, with God. Like, why did he take my father? You know, this was so not fair. And that was, in short, where I sort of turned my back towards the image of Jesus and the church. And I had a brother, 10 years older, and he was already in the 70s, Rolling Stone fan, and Deep Purple, and all this Pink Floyd. And he was smoking hash when he was 17. So I was 7, he was 17. I saw my father finding it out, trying to beat him to death. And I was witnessing that. Then my brother ran away. And this was about the next thing I wanted to investigate. Why he would risk his life to smoke hash. What was making it so attractive to do that? I was 7 years old then. And then by the time I was 14, I smoked it. And I found out what the purpose of it was. And it was good. And I continued to smoke it till now. And I'm now 49.
Were there any spiritual experiences you had because of hash or marijuana?
We have plenty. Because I would find sort of a peace. And I had to do it in nature. I couldn't do it at home, so my mom couldn't find out. So we would hang out in nature first, and then after we would hang out in the youth club, smoking it, and then go in the youth club, have a beer. From 16 on, we could drink beer. So then I found out that I couldn't mix alcohol and hash. And luckily that this was the case, otherwise I would have been an alcoholist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because when I was 18, I had to go in the army. It was obligated. And in the army, you would get beer almost for free. So I could drink 20 beer and still stand with a straight face talking to you. And I did that, like everybody did that in the army. And when I came out of the army, I turned my back to alcohol again because I went to travel. And I went to Thailand, and beer in Thailand cost 60 baht. And to have a bungalow on the beach for a night cost also 60 baht. So the choice is quickly made if you're on a low budget. So alcohol was anyhow, nobody drank alcohol there because everybody was psychonauting. like I say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you just describe in brief terms the journey into the tribalist worldview that you have?
Yeah. In short, it's so powerful that I believe that our society is not really working or as it's supposed to should be. Our society is not, but there is a society on earth where it's working, and that's called the tribal society. And these people gather in parties all over the world, and the discoveries you make there with people, they're so moving and life-changing that it became a way of life for me in a way.
And you can maintain a career or work life and have your tribal religion on the side?
That was my big dilemma 20 years ago when I discovered tribal families. I didn't want to go away anymore. I wanted to stay with them. But on the other hand, I still have strong family feelings. And my mother was there alone. And I would say, as long as my mom is alive, I would stay around her. In any case, something would happen, I would be there. So I turned my back to the tribal family in a way of saying, no, I cannot stay, because they wanted me to stay. And I came back to the reality as we know it. And that was 20 years a big dilemma for me, but I had to accept it because my mom is still alive. And as long as that is, I stay around her, and around her staying means I have to work for money. I cannot do other than work for money. But at work, I'm working with computers since 20 years, but for me the technological revolution, it's not a revolution, it's a program to program people, to program society, and that's very scary. That's what changed in the last 25 years, that I see that people don't have contact with each other anymore, but they have contact with their iPhone. And they think they have contact with the other human, but still they have contact with an intelligence inside a phone. And that's wrong. And the consequences of all this is not being seen yet, because there's going to be in the next generation, all the kids that grow up now will run around with spectacles on their face. They need glasses because their eyes get ruined by the blue light of the screens. And that's also very scary. And you see governments are promoting this stuff because they want to control people. And the ultimate control is like this book of Orson Welles, 1984. It's happening now. It's happening full on. And he saw that already in the 60s happening. For me, this new world order is there already. It's not a future image anymore. It's there. Like, if you see what kind of people are running the planet, it's ridiculous. I cannot say it otherwise. They want to find out what we see.
Okay.
They want to find out with what we have contact. And they want to find out what the power behind this is. And they want to find out who is actually running the planet. And that's the thing. It sounds unbelievable, but it is there. It's all around us, but we don't see it.
Do you believe in a supernatural world, like a realm that's parallel to this or above this one? Yeah,
very much. I believe in multiple universes where we are coexisting at the same time. Like, I can give you a small example. The strongest hallucinogenic drug on the planet is called DMT, and it's also called the God molecule. It's for me, when I take it, I go to the other side. I go there where when I die, I go there. So I've been through the tunnel, I've seen the light, I come to the other end. It was very scary the first time, and I thought I was dead. It was black, and then the blackness disappeared, and it became all eyes, and the eyes took the fear and the panic away, and I was instantly happy. And then the ice disappeared again. It became dark, but from the darkness came colors, and I was in sort of a cave system. And this was my first time there. And as soon as I realized that I was there, I opened my eyes, and I wasn't in the reality anymore that I was normally sitting 10 minutes before. I was in a reality of energy and light and colors. And my brother was sitting there with a face, only one color was shining out of it. Then I knew that I was still in the same room, so I closed my eyes again, and I was back there. So to realize this, to be able to do this while you're living, it makes you very curious, and you want to do this more. And at the right time, you will find more, because you cannot find it easily. And it took me from 95, 96 from the first time till 99 the second time.
With the DMT?
Yeah. It's coming from a plant. They crystallize it. They put some chemical compound to it to make it split. Okay. So the crystal comes floating on top. They take that off. They dry the crystal and you can smoke it.
Okay.
And DMT is also naturally in your brain, in your pineal gland. And when you die, the moment you die, your pineal gland will send the DMT molecule out, and it will flush your brain, and you will be there. A derivative of DMT is called changa, and you can find this in 50% DMT or 30% DMT. And it's a milder trip. You also get hallucinations, but you still can see the world around you. DMT it takes 10-15 minutes and then you become a normal person again. But with an experience you will never forget, because it doesn't stay for 6 or for 8 hours working actively. It goes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're there, and then you come back. And the after effect is maybe for 1 hour or 2 hours, you feel very powerful, very energetic, very fit and healthy, because it's sort of, in the same time, it's also a strong medicine. Okay. Like ayahuasca is a medicine.
Have you tried that, ayahuasca?
Yeah, I tried that in 1999.
Is it similar?
It's very similar, but extremely much longer.
Oh.
And more scary.
Oh, darker?
That depends on the person. If a person is more a positive person, it will be pleasant. But if there is a negative presence in a person, it will break out and it will not be nice with ayahuasca. It's too dark for that. It's not a party drug at all. It's a medicine to get every inch of poison out of your body instantly.
Okay.
You drink it, half an hour later, you're puking and shitting 2 meter wide.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Everything comes out of you, and then you are like free to go into your dream of what you see. And
do people usually wash?
Some people have to be taken care of because they are crying on the floor for a couple of hours of anxieties and stress that's coming out. Other people are enjoying it more, and they can refresh themselves after, of course. You can wash, and then the shaman will come with rose water also to wash you with rose water, and then he has a bush of herbs. He will beat you with a bush of herbs, and then he will sing to you or whistle to you in his way. The whistle I never forgot. I don't know if I'm able to do it now. That's it. Yeah. He was whistling that all the time. When he was going around from person to person, he would whistle that, you know.
Whistle as you work.
Yeah. I have the Holy Anointment oil.
You do?
Yeah.
Holy Anointment?
Yeah, a friend of mine makes it.
Yeah. Is it Catholic?
I don't know about that if he's Catholic, but he's a let's say the pagan.
Okay.
Maybe he was born Catholic. It's possible that his parents were Catholic. But,
no, because the church has holy oil for anointing.
He took the recipe out of Genesis verse, I don't know.
Okay.
The whole recipe is in there, except they don't say marijuana flower, they just say flour. but it's the marijuana. That's what it is. And he took the exact recipe with the mirror and everything he puts in there. And it's 90% THC. And if you take 3 drops of that, you have a religious experience. I tell you, it's like LSD. It's like, whoa. Everything gets more vibrant, little edge, more color, you know, like this, not hallucination, but everything gets more clear. And your body gets totally relaxed. And you get focused and you get a big smile and the stress falls off of you. And I believe that 2,000 years ago, when they started baptizing people, they were giving them holy anointment oil. They would wash them with it. Hey, man.
It can go through the skin?
Yeah, it goes through the skin. It also, when you have skin cancer, for instance, you put a drop of this oil every day on that skin cancer. 2 weeks later, it's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, so powerful it is. Yeah.
So I want you to talk a little bit about mental illness.
Of course, there are people who are aggressively dangerous and they have to be locked away from normal people because it's too dangerous to keep them there. But I mean, the whole psychiatric adventure is for me very shaming. The whole industry behind it is even more criminal and drives people into more craziness than they have to have. And we are suffering under it. If you just look at the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest, it tells you enough. That was a reality then, but it's still now like that. And they have to change the whole system by, instead of using these horrible medicines, give people psychedelics and give them the psychedelics they need for their disease to become a little bit functional and usable in society. That's why I choose for tribal and not for a system like we have now. If you live tribal, the community will take care of you because there is no other way. Even a killer wouldn't get locked up in a tribal situation. He would get punished in a way, but they would still accept him. He made a mistake, but he could continue to live in that village in tribal circumstances, and it would be okay. What do they do now with people? They lock them up in the worst circumstances with the worst psychopaths, and they come out even more crazy. What do you expect of that? This is ridiculous.
What is depression? What do you think depression is, chronic depression?
For me, depression is when you are angry and you cannot tell it to anybody, and you take your anger for a couple of years with you, and all of a sudden it takes over and you're depressed. So when you're angry and you cannot get rid of your anger, you will get depressed.
So from your perspective, the answer is the opposite of repression. It's expression?
Yeah.
Can you talk just a story, not maybe about yourself, but maybe someone you know that was allowed to express themselves and got out of a dark hole where they didn't have hope? And why you might think it went that way?
I mean, for the positive transformations, like I said, like with these parties comes a certain side circus with people who are doing meditation, yoga, healing, massages, you name it, it's there. And one of the things is Vipassana meditation. And mostly people who were taking too much parties in a row, they would lose touch with reality, and then they would go to Vipassana and have a silent treatment for 10 days, and they would come back as a changed person. They would have most of the time found themselves again, but in a way they never found themselves before. So they don't want to be the old person anymore, and they come out and they rip up their passports, and they don't want to go back to wherever they come from, and they want to stay there in paradise, I would say, in utopia.
So you believe in Buddhism to a certain extent?
Yeah, I can find myself in a lot of this. It's not a religion; it's more a philosophy of life. Yeah, but I'm not like a practicing Buddhist. I would say I try to be as good person every day as I can be, and that's it for me.
Did you do the 10-day silence?
I did it on my own. I didn't go to a ashram or shrine or anything. That's a step too far for me, because I'm like how you can say, Einzelgänger in a way, all my life. And
what does that word mean?
You don't need anybody else to be happy with things. You can be happy on your own, and you don't need a bunch of friends to feel good. You just are on your own good, and that's it. It's a German word, Einzelgänger.
Okay.
I don't know how to translate it to English. In the 25 years that I'm following in this scene, you see newcomers come in and people change. Within a year, they're a different person. Most of them to the good, but some of them are left over with bad habits, with the wrong drugs that came from 2000s on. People were influenced in the scene by the wrong drugs, and after 3-4 years, they disappear. You don't see them anymore. But that's the downside of it.
What are some of these dark drugs?
GHB, that's a liquid substance made out of chemicals, and one of the chemicals is toilet cleaner. They used, and the other 2 chemicals I don't know exactly, because it's not my kind of thing. But it's 3 chemicals you can get in a hardware shop, so everybody can make this. And you take a little bit too much of it, and you get in a coma. And you lie there for 8 hours in a coma, and you don't know what's happening with you, because you don't know, you don't know it anymore. You're in a coma. And that's very sad to see with young people who start to do using this. And another thing is ketamine. They use it as a party drug, and it ends up in a very bad addiction. Yeah.
Is that the date rape drug, or one of the date rape drugs?
I would say GHB.
Okay.
GHB is more the date rape drug, because ketamine gets you out of your body, but you are crystal clear in this other dimension. So if something happens with your body, you will notice, and you will react on it. So you have the ability to come back and defend yourself and go back again. But GHB doesn't do that. GHB puts you in a coma, and you don't know they can do anything with you, and that's more the date rape drug.
Does this happen, unfortunately, in your scene?
Not so much, luckily. In our scene, not so much. Actually, you hear it happening on the mega big festivals, the commercial ones. There this can happen, but in our scene, it doesn't happen really often, bad things.
Do you know anyone that was well balanced and then because of drugs became imbalanced permanently?
Oh yeah, plenty of people.
Can you recognize beforehand that they might be in a risky situation?
Yeah. Especially people who have a mental disorder, and they can still function in the reality, in the normal reality of every day. But sometimes they have outbursts of,
psychosis?
Not psychosis.
Mania?
But, mania, or especially bipolar people.
Okay.
Bipolar people shouldn't mess with psychedelics without somebody there who can help them. It can get really out of hand.
Okay. What about the afterlife? You mentioned with DMT that you've been to the other side. Mm-hmm. In my worldview, Catholicism, there's an extreme difference between the best case scenario, heaven, and the worst case scenario, hell, and you don't want to go to hell. No one wants to go to hell. They might think they want to, but they don't want to. Does your worldview give you 2 extremely different outcomes, or does everyone end up in a nice place?
Everybody ends up in the same place, and they will feel free for the first time.
It's a happy ending for everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You feel free for the first time, because here on Earth we all chained to something, to consume or to a partner, to children, to property, to whatever. We are chained to everything, and we are not really feeling freedom or happiness.
In the afterlife, does it last forever, this happiness and fulfillment?
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like the best advice you could give anyone ever is kill yourself. Because there's no downside. It's just win, 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 win.
Life is a gift. This we should realize all, that life is a gift for everybody. It doesn't matter where you are born. But kill yourself is not an option, because if there's one thing you have to respect, it's life. And if you kill yourself, you don't respect life, and you end up somewhere in a dark place.
Oh, so you can end up in a dark place.
You can end up in a dark place for a long time till you're ready to go where you are free.
Everyone goes to heaven, but it's a really long and painful journey for those who have went the wrong way.
Exactly.
I think the Hindus say the same thing. Do you believe in reincarnation? Are you open to the idea?
That's the thing I'm still thinking about. What will be after this eternal freedom and happiness? There must be another way to get out of this. Because I can imagine that eternal freedom and happiness will start boring after a while, and you want to get out of that.
I disagree. I think that happiness, freedom, fulfillment, love, joy, and peace and all these things are good, and that's why we crave them, and that's why when we get to heaven, if we get to heaven, we're going to enjoy those things without boredom.
Don't take me wrong with getting bored, because that's a wrong word. It's getting to another planet, for instance.
Yeah.
You get to heaven, you stay there for a while, you have to accomplish these good things, and you have to work with the universe to create these things. And then at one point, you get a task again, but on another planet, in another universe. And then it starts all over again. Like, an example is when me and my wife, we smoked the first time changa by accident. And after she's like coming back, and I see she's like in the real world again, and then I ask her, what did you see? And then she said, I saw who you are in the other world. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, you were full of tattoos in your face, lines, and a different color you had. And you looked like you were a warrior in another world. And I'm like, are you serious? And then I sort of realized that there are multiverses, and maybe we are already active in different planets. Because it's so complex, we cannot categorize it: dying, heaven, and reincarnation, or staying in heaven. I don't know, it's much more complex. Once you've been there, you realize, oh, this is actually what does make us do things. This here, and not your boss on earth, but this up here is leading us, is making things with us without us realizing it. We think we are the super intelligent, but it's coming from somewhere else. It's not us that are doing this all here.
Do you believe that you and I are two separate beings? Or ultimately, are we one being that's fragmented in a dream?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, our planet is a brain on itself, and we are living on it, and we are under influence of it. Your brain is now interacting with my brain. It's not just because I'm talking, but it's just the frequencies our brains are producing, these waves, this magnetic field around us is colliding with each other. And I think ancient civilizations had telepathy, and we are not able anymore since maybe Babylon.
I've had telepathic experiences.
Me too.
What is most real to you, if it's not this physical world, obviously? What is most real to you? To me, it would be God Almighty, who always was, always is, and always will be.
To me, for me, it is also God, but I don't call it God anymore, and I find it in my psychedelic experience. It loads my battery tremendous. I do it mainly in summertime, 1 time in the winter maybe, and 4 times in the summer, so 5 times a year I do something. I take some acid or some MDMA, or I smoke the occasional DMT or changa pipe. This became my religion. because this opens up reality. And for me, it is every time a religious experience. It is tremendous, overpowering.
Are there dark forces in that other realm?
Yeah, but it's separate. It's like yin and yang. It's like there is a border. Where the bad is, there is a light of good, where you can escape again.
Okay.
And where the good is, there is a light of bad, where you can escape again.
Okay.
Like this, I see it.
Have you gone to the dark side?
Yeah, but not long, because it's very scary.
Why would anyone remain there?
Because they're kept there.
Oh.
Because when I got there, all of a sudden all these eyes were looking at me. And all these eyes were the same eye, actually. But they were there a million times. And they decide about you. They look at you, they decide about you, and in an instant you get happy. Or, I don't know what happens. You stay in a panic and it closes again and it stays dark and you stay in a panic. You cannot escape it. Only these eyes can take it away from you. And when they close again, and they take it away from you and they close again, then it changes into a colorful environment, cave system, whatever way you get.
What do you think love is?
True love is something you not only know, but your body feels it. And your body tells you it's good. And when your body tells you it's good, and your brain is along with that, then you have love.
Okay, it's a holistic thing.
Yeah.
Organic.
Yeah. It's this interaction also, what the brain waves, what I was talking about. We are producing electricity. We are making sparks in our brain, and we are producing electricity, so we have a magnetic field. And our brain has a certain hertz producing also this vibrant energy, and we tap on it.
What is the connection between sex and love?
I don't feel like having sex if I don't have the feeling of love. It's like these guys going to a hooker and paying for it and disappearing after. I don't believe in that. I rather would make love with myself and masturbate than doing that. So then I have a feeling of love. So for me, love is connected with sex. It's an illusion otherwise. It's a lie.
Could it be that the person is just so damaged that they don't want the intimacy, they would rather just have the pleasure?
Yeah. For them it's an escape to block that off. But I don't know if it works in a lifetime. It will work for 5 years, 10 years, but then when you get unattractive and older, it gets more difficult to have these Tinder dates. And then it doesn't work anymore. Then you need somebody who loves you. But then you're old and most times more ugly or unhealthy, and you're not able to do that anymore. And then it's too late. Yeah.
Your story with your mother's love touched me because it involves sacrifice. You sacrificed a lot to stay with your mother, right? So your mother gave up a lot for you, and you gave up a lot for her. Ultimately, sacrifice, I think, is a big part of love. Does that fit in with your worldview too?
Yeah.
Yeah, sacrifice.
Yeah. Like, I'm 15 years married now. And every year I come to Canada to spend my holiday with old people. Yeah. And that's sort of a little bit of a sacrifice on my side to spend my holidays with old people. But meanwhile, I have the time of my life. I learn a lot from old people. And Canada, for instance, I learn a lot of Canada.
Just by being in Canada?
Yeah, just by being in Canada, yeah. Canada is a very beautiful country, but it's not nice for its people. In summertime you get eaten by bugs, and in wintertime you freeze to death. You cannot smoke outside, so you have to stop smoking. That is good for you though, but for the rest, Canada is very unfriendly for your body.
I agree. And I'm born here.
We shouldn't complain today. It's 25 degrees today and no mosquitoes around.
September 21st?
Is it already?
I think it's September 20th.
Happy solstice.
Yeah. Usually I give my guests a little chance to question my faith, just because there are a lot of critics of the Catholic faith.
Are you ready?
Yeah. So if you have any questions about my faith, this would be the time.
How do you feel about going on accusations that a lot of Catholic priests are involved in pedophilia and affairs between men and women?
Yeah. I don't like it. It's disgusting when religious hypocrites are pretending to be something they're not. And God only knows what's inside someone's heart. But it's pretty obvious to me, knowing the church as I do, that the remedies are all there. The remedies are there in the sacraments. The remedies are there in prayer. And there's so much grace in the church that I don't see how you can maintain that sickness for too long. Maybe they have mental illness. But I would say that that's rare. I would say most of the time it's just people that are pretending to be religious and that are using the church as a cover. And in some cases, people that want to destroy the church from within. There's always been infiltration in the church from the Freemasons, from different enemies of the church that want to bring it down, with a long game where it's generations of people entering the church with decades of work going into this infiltration. The ultimate goal being to rise right to the top and get a pope on Peter's seat.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but it's true.
Were you thinking that Pope Francis might be an evil man?
Oh yeah. He's one of the evil forces on earth. Yeah.
I see the evil that you see, but I see that as a spiritual battle that's taking place because the church is valuable. That's why it's coveted by the evil
Valuable
forces.
in a sense of a lot of money.
No,
And
valuable.
power. That's money and power again. They're there in this top one pyramid.
I see it as a struggle for souls, and God wants to save souls, and Satan and his demons want to destroy souls. That's how I see it.
Yeah. So Satan is within the Vatican. That's
I think
how you
he's at
see it.
work. Yeah, he's at
Yeah.
work in the Vatican. Yeah.
And Hollywood is always right with their silly movies. And if you see The Devil Wears Prada, who wears Prada? The last Pope, the German Pope, he was a fan of red Prada. So.
I don't think he chose that. He just went along with it.
But I mean, I'm not talking bad about the Pope now, for instance. The word is that he dresses at night as a normal man and he goes onto the street in Rome and he helps the poor people who are living on the street and he brings them to a shelter. So I'm not accusing him straight of being in connection with Satan, but Satan is at work there also, yeah.
What do you think of the saints, the Catholic saints throughout history? Are there any that you admire? Like, for example, St. Francis of Assisi.
Yeah. These are nice stories.
St. Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with these stories?
Yeah. I'm familiar with them and I admire these people for what they were standing for. And some of these things are, for many people, saying, for this I'm a Christian. For this I became a Christian. For this holy man. Or,
Yeah. Inspired by the goodness of the saints?
Of these stories of the saints.
Yeah, I'm Christian because of the saints.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of the love.
Tomorrow we are in the air again.
So, other than sex, is there anything else you wanted to ask me about in the church?
Not really.
No. Okay.
I can go. Yeah, I've seen the church active in India, for instance. I've stayed in Goa for several months every year, or a couple of years in a row, and the Goa is a province in India, where Catholicism was brought by the Portuguese, so it's already a while there, and Goa became mainly Christian, and the Christian community in Goa is very, I would say, like it was here in the 40s and 50s, that the priest had all the power in the village. And you see how this system of a belief, Christianity in this case, can abuse other people who are not Christian. And these other people who are not Christian are the workers in Goa. They come from other states where they are much poorer, and they go to families in Goa and they are working there all their life with their family. And their kids will work all their life with that family, if they're lucky. The Catholic Church in Goa has orphan houses. They run orphan houses, they help kids who are without parents, they pick them up the street, they grow them up until the boys are 10 years old, and the girls with 8 years old, they are getting placed in a family to live the rest of their life and work the rest of their life for the family. And the working starts for the girls with 8 years old, then they seem to be seen mature enough, and for the boys 10 years old, then they seem to be strong enough to work for the rest of their lives. So that's kind of a sad thing to observe in the name of a religion. And it's not because it's Christian religion, it's many religions do that. Look at Mother Teresa, she was in Calcutta, the orphan mafia.
What does that mean?
Yeah, they provide a business for working children, child labor. They provide a platform for that. They pick the kids up from the street, they feed them till they're strong enough, and then they go get placed into some family or into factories or whatever.
Okay.
They have to work for the rest of their life. Their childhood ends when they're strong enough to work. Yeah. And I mean, those are the happier ones. The ones that not get picked up from the street, they end up, in worst cases, they end up in child prostitution. And
is the church running that ring too?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't say that. No. They, of course, they know who's running it. The police knows who's running it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows who's running it, but it's happening on such a big scale that they cannot do much about it.
If you're the mother of one of these gangster guys that's running a sex trade,
Yeah.
do you still love your son and speak to your son and have him for dinner?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Maybe they were raised in the sex trade.
Yeah, most of them are. And Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island under India, and that's for me the biggest pedophile island in the world, where not many people go on holiday. But the most who go there are going for sex, of course, and with minors, women as men, and most the boys get abused, and the girls get put in a golden cage by the family, because they are going to marry, and that means that a girl is worth more than a boy. And a boy, they put into prostitution from 6 years old or 4 years old, I don't know. And by the time they're 18, they're destroyed human beings, or not even human beings anymore. Monsters.
So, this is very dark. At the end of my interview, I'm going to wrap things up now. At the end of my interview, I always ask my guests to speak directly to the audience and just say something positive. Just a little message of hope. So just to wrap up the show, what would you say to anyone that's out there listening?
Take one of your daily rituals and don't do them anymore. And I would say don't switch your TV on when it's news time. Skip the news, please.
If you like your worldview, if you think it's swell. If you got some questions, ask me and I'll tell. All you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask.